1-800 to learn more or visit villagecooperative.com.
Hey, it's Kevin Flynn and Alex Taylor. Make sure you're listening to the Need to Know Morning Show. Starts at 6 on Friday. We're going to be coming off a night of weather. Dean Wysocki will have our update and the weekend forecast for the Minnesota fishing opener.
Kyle's in the newsroom. Ag Director Bridget Riedel joins us at 7:10. She'll keep us up to date on what's happening on the farm. Taylor's TiVo's rolling on the baby formula shortage. And you can win donuts from Sandy's, too.
All that, the sports and more. Friday starts at 6. Kevin and Alex on the Need to Know Morning Show. AM 1100, 92.3 FM, The Flag.
My new book, Killing the Killers, The Secret War Against Terrorists, is the best reporting I've done in my career. Every day, the USA is on the hunt to neutralize terror killers all over the world. But how this war is actually being waged has been a mystery until now. Killing the Killers will keep you turning the pages as all the killing books do. Available now at Amazon, BillO'Reilly.com, and bookstores everywhere.
Paid for.
Hey, good evening. Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki along with Meteorologist Justin Storm breaking into regular coverage. And we'll stick with you here probably at least for the next hour or so as we have a line of storms that is racing out of South Dakota. Currently, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for southwestern Otter Tail County, Grant County, southern Wilkin County in Minnesota, and Ransom and Richland and Sargent County in southeastern North Dakota. We've got a line of severe thunderstorms that is racing to the north at 55 miles an hour. Radar indicated close to 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, possible quarter-size hail with this. This has mainly been a wind event. We haven't seen a whole lot of hail reports, but we've had numerous reports of damage in areas of South Dakota with power lines down and a lot of trees and roofs ripped off as this storm system races to the north. We're looking at this is going to affect areas if you're traveling on Interstate 29 between mile markers 0 and 34, Interstate 94 in Minnesota between mile markers 49 and 81. So again, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for southeastern Otter Tail, Grant, southern Wilkin County in Minnesota, Ransom, Richland, and Sargent County. That's until 7:45 this evening. What do you see on radar there, Justin?
Well, it basically looks just as a very elongated, curved line of storm stretching all the way from Jamestown to Aberdeen over towards Watertown in South Dakota, and then stretching into the western and southern portion of Minnesota. A couple of tornado warnings in South Dakota right now, and two over, one by Wilmer and one south of Alexandria heading towards Sauk Center with that portion of the storm. But the main part that's heading towards the FM Metro is just butting up with the South Dakota, North Dakota borders. So that's going to be affecting Fairmount here soon, Great Bend, Rutland, and Valblin as well down in South Dakota over by Wheatland. These storms will have the possibility of creating some quick spin up tornadoes along the line, or at least the leading line of the storm. Overall, the storms don't look too tornadic, but definitely a chance for spin up tornadoes along the leading edge. Now over to our west by Jamestown and stretching down towards Ellendale. Those storms are not currently warned for severe weather. However, they are still strong storms. It does look like they will be capable of producing penny to nickel sized hail and some gusty winds to 40 to 55 miles per hour. But the bulk of these storms that are heading towards the FM Metro, again, right on that tri-state border along North Dakota and South Dakota, just passing through Watertown up in throughout Sisseton. Those are making their way towards Wahpeton at 55 miles per hour. Again, active tornado watch in effect throughout the central and southern valley, extending over into Minnesota and Lakes country. These storms will have the capability of producing tornadoes. It's just not looking overly favorable at this moment based on the material that I'm looking at with these storms that are heading into Wheaton and Rosealt as well.
Yeah, and these are like I said, this is mainly going to be, it looks at least as of this standpoint, a wind event. Again, these were racing north at 87 miles an hour earlier as these raced through Sioux Falls and northward. But as they approach the South Dakota or North Dakota border here, they're starting to slow down just a bit as they kind of enter a more stable, a little more stable environment. But they're fast moving again. So as they race to the north, wind damage is going to be the main threat. And again, This does affect areas around Wahpeton, over toward Lisbon, and even over into the lakes area. Fergus is under that severe thunderstorm warning as well. In fact, the strongest part of this storm appears to be right around Dumont, and that is racing up towards the Fergus area. The line passed through Sisseton. Haven't had any reports. I'm going to check our chat window here from the National Weather Service, and not seeing any damage reports as of yet. So, but again, when these storms race through areas of South Dakota, wind gusts around Marshall earlier, 78 miles an hour, numerous reports of wind damage. We're getting some reports out of South Dakota of large branches, power lines down, a few roofs ripped off, trees uprooted. So again, you don't need a tornado to do the same amount of damage. So again, a severe thunderstorm warning, if you're just joining us, remains in effect here for areas Wahpeton over towards Fergus, up towards Lisbon until 7:45. Main threat with this is going to be damaging winds over the next hour. This goes until 7:45, and eventually this will more than likely, as it spreads to the north, we'll probably see Cass and Clay County go under some kind of warning here as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like we had said, there are a couple of tornado warnings on these storms. That's by Rosealt and Wheaton in South Dakota. Those are slowly pushing, well, I shouldn't say slowly, but they are working their way into southern North Dakota. But as these storms continue to lift further to the north into the Central Valley, I really think that they're going to lose their tornadic potential as they become more elevated in nature. And really, you want those cloud bases closer to the ground to really support those quick spin ups. Not to say that it won't be possible, but the likelihood is definitely going to go down as these storms race further to the north. So a few of those other towns that are within our active severe thunderstorm warning, just to the south of the FM metro, that's going to be Ransom, Sargent, Richland County, over into Wilkin and Grant. So a few of the towns in the direct line of these storms are going to be Foreman, Gwinner, Weinmer, Hackinson, Fairmount, Wahpeton, Fergus Falls, Ashby, Elbow Lake, Hoffman over on the Minnesota side of the river. Those are the next towns that are going to be affected by this portion of the line of thunderstorms pushing to the north at 55 miles per hour. Again, isolated spin-up tornadoes will be possible, but only a severe thunderstorm warning for the North Dakota side of these storms as well. And we do have a few other storms across the area, so let's touch on those really quickly in case you're listening, say up in the Northern Valley by Grand Forks. There is one thunderstorm just north of the Grand Forks area, not warned, still able of producing some 45 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, maybe some P to small sized hail. And then over a little further south around Jamestown, we are seeing a few other storms down there, not warned for anything, but again, capable of producing some gusty winds, a lot of frequent lightning, and likely some small to maybe penny to nickel sized hail as well, with that heading towards Jamestown.
And if you're listening to us on either the Flag or WDAY, we are live streaming this with live radar on our social media and on our website too. So if you want to see actual live radar as we kind of follow these storms along, join us on our social media, Facebook page, or WDAYradionow.com, or AM1100theflag.com. If you have any damage reports, wind reports, hail, any damage you want to report, if you're out on 29 or 94, you're traveling through this, and you want to give us an update on what you're seeing, 701-271-1100 is our hotline, 701-271-1100. If you have any damage reports, we'd love to hear from you. Be safe, pull over or whatever, and then we can relay those on to the National Weather Service, and that helps with them issuing warnings, or if there's hail within these, we can pass that information right along to the National Weather Service.
It really helps with them with their warning process, as well as if they have people who can see the storms, what they're producing. Sure, we can estimate what's going on based on the radar returns, but if there's a storm that looks like it's causing a big deal, but it's only dropping pea-sized hail, that might prevent it from being warned. And that could help out with the warning process from the National Weather Service. So you guys, everyone out there, you're our eyes and ears out on these storms. So we'd love to hear from you. Again, that number is 701-271-1100. That is the SkyWatch Weather Center hotline.
Right. And if you're just joining us, wondering what's going on, severe thunderstorm warning has been issued just to the south of the FM area until 7:45. These storms racing north at 55 miles an hour. Some of the counties included in this are southwestern Otter Tail, Grant County, southern Wilkin County, and on the North Dakota side, Ransom, Richland, and Sargent County. Again, if you're traveling on 29, that will affect you between mile markers 0 and 34. If you're on Interstate 94 in Minnesota, between mile markers 49 and 81, with some more than likely damaging winds, looks to be the main threat with this, Justin. I'm not seeing any reports of any hail yet with this, but anytime you get these storms racing northward at 55 miles an hour, you're more than likely going to see some wind damage with that.
Yeah, that's definitely the main threat. Again, we're looking for wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour with these storms that are moving at 55 miles per hour. And as Dean had said, the hail threat really isn't looking overly likely. The instability that we were keeping a track of in this or into this afternoon is really a little bit lower than what we were initially expecting. So not to say that some large hail won't be possible to form, but right now the hail threat doesn't look overly concerning at this point. It's just the damaging wind. So again, if you're out there in a big rig or a high profile vehicle, that will be pushing you around on these roads pretty good. So again, that's going to be down on I-29 from mile markers 0 to 34, and then on I-94 on Minnesota between mile markers 49 and 81. Might be a good idea just to park in the visitor center if there is one, or pull off on the side of the road and just let these storms pass overhead, because they will be pushing you around on those roads. And if you're trying to do 50 miles an hour and you get hit with a 70 mile per hour wind gust that you're not expecting, well, that could be enough to knock you off the road. So better to play it safe. Just wait off a little bit. These storms are moving quickly, so they will push quickly overhead, and you'll just see some general rain and thunder showers behind them. But that leading edge, again, extending all the way from Jamestown down towards Oaks, where a new severe thunderstorm warning was issued for Oaks, North Dakota. That's set to expire here in about 40 minutes. Same concern, 70 mile per hour wind gusts, nickel-sized hail, storms racing northeast at 55 miles per hour. So a few of these towns, again, that are currently being affected by this storm or are about to be affected by this storm would be Lemoore, Oaks, Lisbon, Gwinner, Foreman, Wyndmere, Hackinson, Fairmont, Wahpeton, Fergus Falls, Ashby, Elbow Lake, Hoffman over into Minnesota. That's where that severe thunderstorm warning is located to the south end of the FM Metro. And again, there are some storms that are firing over by Jamestown. Those storms are not currently warned for anything, but still capable of producing some gusty winds and some small hail. So if you are over in the Jamestown area listening, those storms not severe at this moment, but just keep in mind there's still going to be stronger storms throughout the area.
Right. And like you said, there's some storms up around the Grand Forks area, not warned, no warning with those, but it looks like they're trying to shove an outflow boundary southward. If that happens, see how far south that gets. Once that could interact with this line of storms coming up from the south. And if that does happen, then usually that would intensify these storms along that outflow boundary. Outflow boundary is cold air rushing out of a thunderstorm complex, and we've got those thunderstorms north of Grand Forks, again, non-severe, but it looks like it's shoving an outflow boundary out there. And we're watching these storms to our south. They're along and ahead of a warm front, and typically that's where you have your highest threat for tornadic activity. We haven't had any reports of any confirmed tornadoes with this line. There was earlier down into areas of central and southern South Dakota. I believe there's a tornado confirmed outside of Mitchell, just east of Mitchell. And at that time, this whole line was racing northward at about 87 miles an hour. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a line of storms racing that fast northward. I mean, that's how much.
Those are some pretty fast moving storms. I can say that for sure. And that doesn't happen very often, where you get storms racing at near 90 miles per hour. I think I can think of one case where that was suggested based on model data, but I never went back to verify if that actually happened. So it doesn't happen very often that you're seeing storms racing at 90 miles an hour almost. And these storms have started to slow down a little bit, and that has been helping with the extreme wind gusting over 90 miles per hour, as these storms are kind of interacting with an outflow boundary from earlier this morning when we had thunderstorms that kind of set up a boundary right where these storms are at right now. And it's been slowing them down a tad bit, but they're still moving north at 50 miles an hour. So these storms, again, are located. Let's grab the ruler here. About 56 miles to the south of Fargo, as well as about 56 miles west of Fargo. So if you're driving west on I-94, heading out past Castleton to Valley City and Jamestown, you will be running into some stronger storms. Again, those ones at the moment, not severe, but there are severe storms working their way to the north. And those warnings are affecting Sargent, Ransom, Richland counties over on Minnesota, Wilkin and Grant, Ottertail. Those storms are, well, not quite into Ottertail quite yet, but there are storms that are reaching further into the Southern Valley, and that's going to be the case. We'll be looking for isolated spin-up tornadoes possible. Right now, 2 tornado warnings that are in effect for South Dakota. Those are not extending into North Dakota at this moment. And in fact, they might have just expired. They expire in 6 minutes, so we'll have to wait and see if they issue another tornado warning on that for the Hackinson and Wahpeton area.
We just had a tornado warning now issued for Grant, Ottertail, Wilkin counties in Minnesota, and Richland County here in North Dakota. We're looking at straight line wind damage as these are now moving north at about 60 miles an hour. The line of severe storms with wind damage located a line extending from 6 miles south of Lidgerwood to near Emmanuel Church, moving north at 60 miles an hour. So again, this was just issued a tornado warning now in effect for our far southern valley for Richland County in here in North Dakota, and for southeastern Ottertail, northwestern Grant, and Wilkin County in areas of Minnesota. These storms expected to be around Tenney by 7:10, Campbell by around 7:15, Windermere around 7:20, Barney and Morton around 7:25. Again, these storms moving to the north at about 60 miles an hour. No confirmed tornado on the ground, but a lot of rotation with these storms as they continue to move to the north at 60.
Yep. So if you're down in the Hankinson area, Fairmount, Wahpeton, Great Bend, if you're listening and you can, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 701-271-1100. Again, 701-271-1100. Let us know what you're seeing down there as the leading edge of this storm is now approaching the towns of Hackinson and Fairmount, as well as approaching into the Great Bend area, Wahpeton, and then eventually into Christie, Rothsay, and Abercrombie. Again, that's where our tornado warning is in effect, where we're looking for quick spin-up tornadoes to form on the leading edge of that line of thunderstorms.
Yeah, so if you're watching us live stream, I'm kind of pinpointing on radar. So here's Fairmount. I know it's hard to see. And Hankinson right here. The leading edge of these storms, this is where you can usually get that spin up tornado as these race to the north, again at 60 miles an hour. So in the far southern valley there, if you're in Richland County, you probably want to take cover immediately, as no confirmed tornado on the ground, but there has been rotation within these. If anything, you're definitely going to see some likely get some wind damage out of this as these race to the north at 60. So again, if you're in the path of these storms, you're going to want to take cover into a basement. If no basement is available, put as many walls between you and the outside as you possibly can. Lowest level possible. If you're in an apartment, let's say on a third floor, get down to that lowest level possible. Trailer, mobile homes, evacuate those. Usually there's storm shelters nearby. Been numerous reports of overturned semis with these down in South Dakota, further down into South Dakota as these continue their trek northward. And again, it'll be about around the Abercrombie area and just to the south of Fargo here within the next hour, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing a couple of those storms over on the Jamestown side of our listening area that are looking like they're pulsing up a little bit. I believe that is Tappan and Medina, just north of Streeter. A couple of those storms look like they may be capable of producing hail up to 1 inch in diameter and some gusty winds. Currently not warned for anything But if they continue pulsing up at this rate, I wouldn't be surprised to see one or two of those storms get warned. But again, currently right now, not warned. Does look like they are packing a punch with them, though, with some gusty winds and possibly some hail up to an inch in diameter. But our main focus is just to the south of the FM Metro right now, where we are watching that line pushing into North Dakota now. It has crossed the border, and we do have those other storms just to the west of those by Lemoore and Oaks up towards Litchfield. Those storms are also warned for severe weather with 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts to hail at the moment by Litchfield. Lemoore down towards Oaks doesn't look to be a main concern. Could see some small pea-sized hail with those, but again, the main concern with these storms are the damaging wind. And then again, for those of you who are just tuning in, active tornado warning in effect for the Southern Valley. That's going to be Hankinson, Great Bend, Wahpeton, Campbell, Rothsay, Abercrombie, Christine. That tornado warning is in effect for another 17 minutes as the line or the leading edge of those storms push north at 60 miles per hour. So those will pose a risk for some quick spin up tornadoes. So these will be by Tenney or near Tenney at 7:10 p.m. Nashua and Campbell around 7:15, Matador and Weinmer over by 7:20 p.m. and then up towards Barney, Foxholm, and Morton by about 7:25. So that is about another 10 minutes from now until they start to reach a little closer to home. Again, the rotation on the storms don't look overly impressive, but when you get these leading edges of these bowing lines of storms that we're getting, sometimes it can be really hard to pick out those exact minuscule details that would indicate a tornado. There is some weak rotation, and it really doesn't take much to get some very quick spin up tornadoes, not necessarily long tracked or strong, but enough to cause some damage, and definitely not something that you want to get trapped in. So if you're in the Hankinson area, Fairmount, Campbell, Lidgerwood, Great Bend, Doran, likely you might want to try and start to seek some shelter just in case there is one of these isolated quick spin up tornadoes that are forming or quickly form along that leading edge of the storms.
Right. And if you have any storm reports, we would love to hear from you. Be safe, but let us know on our hotline, 701-271-1100. That's 701-271-1100. And again, right now, these are affecting areas of the far southern valley where a tornado warning is in effect.
Our listeners over in the Lakes area, another tornado warning has been issued for, it looks like Holmes City, Brandon, and Leaf Lake. That is just to the west of Alexandria by a couple of miles. That warning is in effect for another 15 minutes. It will expire at 7:30 this evening. So that is another portion of the storm just on the west side of Alexandria heading towards Brandon and Leaf Valley in Minnesota. That little portion of the storm will also be capable of producing a quick spin up tornado. Also probably over into the Elbow Lake, which does not contain a tornado warning at this moment, but that leading edge of the storm could potentially lead up to a quick spin up as well. But for the active tornado warnings, that's the Southern Valley, Wahpeton, Hankinson, Fairmount, Tenney, in the direct line of that. And then to the east over by Alexandria, again, that would be Brandon and Leaf Valley, Minnesota, where those active tornado warnings are in effect.
And that is the most likely area. Let me zoom out on radar here. And again, if you want to watch us live along with radar, we are on live stream. And you can log on to our social media or our website, am1100theflag.com or wdayradio.com, and follow us along here as we kind of show you radar, live radar, and also we'll kind of zoom in on some of these stronger cells as well. If you're just joining us here, our far southern valley, Wahpeton, Hankinson, under a tornado warning here, and that will continue for until 7:30? Is that correct?
Yep, that's 7:30.
Okay. All right. And again, these are racing north at close to 60 miles an hour. Hankinson getting hit pretty hard right now. Fairmont getting hit pretty hard right now. These will shortly be arriving in Wahpeton, Dwight, Morton, and Windermere as well. So you want to take cover. Again, nothing confirmed on the ground right now, but there's one of the stronger cells around Fairmont and Hankinson getting hit pretty hard currently. A lot of wind damage I'm expecting with this as this line presses through.
Right. And I had a buddy who's out chasing some of these storms. He's just outside of our listening area, but he uploaded something about 15 or 20 minutes ago of a confirmed tornado down by Sisseton, South Dakota. That portion of the storm has since passed Sisseton. That would be the area that's moving into Hankinson and Fairmount and Wahpeton. So there was a confirmed tornado down by Sisseton about 15 to 25 minutes ago. That portion of the storm is now going in towards Hankinson and Fairmount and Wahpeton. Looks like we're just getting a hail report down in Hankinson of pea-sized hail, or 1/4 of an inch in diameter hail. So not the biggest deal with that, but still something you probably don't want to get caught under. So you want to seek shelter if you're in the Windmere or the Winemere area, Hankinson, Fairmount, up towards Wahpeton. That portion of the storm has produced a confirmed tornado down by Sisseton. Unlikely that same tornado is on the ground, but another one definitely could have replaced it by this point in time. So if you're in the direct line of those storms, I would seek shelter in a basement. Again, center of your house. If you don't have a basement, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Bathrooms work great, hiding in the bathtubs. Just something to get away from the windows and the exterior of the house.
And again, there's also some stronger storms, as you were saying earlier, Justin, out around Valley City, stretching out towards Jamestown. None of these have been on the severe side. Some reports of some smaller hail, maybe 1/4, 1/2 inch diameter size hail with some of these southwest of Valley City. Also some stronger storms just outside of the Jamestown area. But again, those are not being warned as of now. What we're worried about is this line of storms moving in to the far southern valley, out around Hankinson, stretching over towards Fairmount. We're getting some reports now from Valley City, 1/4 size hail out around Valley City. Let's kind of move radar then over towards there. And see, nothing is being warned out around the Valley City area. But again, reports of, let's zoom into Valley City. So that storm has passed just to the north of the Valley City area, moving to the northeast at about 50 miles an hour. So nothing warned with that yet, but 1/4 size hail being reported out right around the Valley City area. But again, we're more concerned with the storms that are lining up from the far southern valley, and these arc all the way down into areas of towards Alexandria. So if you have any travel plans on 94 going into Minnesota, down towards Fergus, you're going to run into some pretty nasty weather there. And continuing your trek down towards Alex, some strong to severe storms, even some indicating possible tornadic as well, as those all continue to race to the north at about 50 to 60 miles an hour.
Yep. And I don't know if you just mentioned this, Dean. I was trying to get some things pulled up on my side, but there was another severe thunderstorm warning issued for those storms that we were initially talking about just to the west of Jamestown by Medina and Tappan. Those storms has now been issued a severe thunderstorm warning for ping pong sized hail. That would be, I believe, 1.5 inches in diameter and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. This severe thunderstorm is located 7 miles northeast of Tappan or 10 miles west of Medina, moving north at 45 miles per hour. These severe thunderstorms will be near Pettibone around 7:30 this evening. Tornado watch does remain in effect across the area until midnight tonight, and we do have those active tornado warnings to the south of the FM metro along the leading line of that storm that's pushing now into Wahpeton and Winemere. These storms will be pushing towards Abercrombie and Rothsay, and let's see, that's kind of blocked a little bit. It looks like Elizabeth, Minnesota. That's what it was. Those storms are again racing north at 55 miles per hour. They'll be in Wahpeton in about 5 to 7 minutes, and then Fergus Falls also in about 5 minutes as well. There was another tornado warning just to the west of Alexandria. That tornado warning set to expire now here in about 10 minutes. I am seeing some rotation on that from Doppler radar over the Garfield area heading into Leaf Valley. If you are in Garfield or in Leaf Valley, I would seek shelter. It actually looks like that rotation is starting to push a little bit outside of the watch box. So let's include Mytona in that as well, just to the north of Carlos, and the Bell River area does show some active rotation with those storms right now working their way north of Alexandria. So if you are in the lakes area by Parker Prairie or Yearbank up into the Vinning area. You got some strong storms capable of producing a tornado heading your way as well. Again, nothing confirmed on these storms for tornadoes, that is, outside of the one report down from Sisseton. And that portion of the storm, again, is working its way into Morton and Wahpeton right now. Those storms will also be capable of producing some quick spin-up tornadoes, and then they will be working their way into the Abercrombie area within about the next 10 to 15 minutes as well.
And we're getting some reports out of Alexandria. Wind gusts 81 miles an hour, 3/4 inch hail. Let's see what else we have. That's for the storm there. Let's see. We're getting continuing. Let's see. Tornado warning now. All right. We went over that for Grant, Ottertail, and thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado over Elbow Lake. 21 miles south of Fergus, moving north at 40. So these storms starting to slow down a bit, although the tornado, let's see, tornado warning for, let's pull this up here real quick, for southwestern Ottertail, northwestern Grant, Wilkin, and Richland County. Those are moving north at 70 miles an hour. So that's with the storm system that's approaching the Wahpeton area. If you're in Wahpeton right now, probably want to take cover. These storms just pressing out of Hankinson. If you have any storm reports from Hankinson, let us know. Give us a call, 701-271-1100, 701-271-1100 if you have any storm reports. So that line of storms approaching Fergus, Wahpeton, and eventually here up towards Abercrombie here within the next probably 15-20 minutes. Main threat right now, even though you're under tornado warning, although you can see an isolated spin-up tornado, I think the main threat with this is going to be some wind damage, as we've had some reports of wind damage being reported. If you're on the interstate system and you're traveling with these, Interstate 29 between mile markers 7 and 45, probably want to pull over if you're in that area, as this line of storms really going to produce a lot of wind. And Interstate 94 in Minnesota between mile markers 31 and 49.
Yep. So as you had mentioned, yes, the isolated spin-up tornado is still a possibility. In the greater, I'd say a equal or greater concern is going to be the damaging wind. You know, these wind speeds of the gusts are basically equivalent to the same speed as a tornado. I mean, wind gusting to 85 miles per hour is a very strong EF0 to very weak EF1 tornado rated wind gusts. And we're seeing those being reported around the lakes area now with that portion of the storm. And I want to touch up to our listeners up in the Northern Valley. I know we're focusing a lot on the Southern Valley because that's where the severe weather is. You also have some stronger storms up there now by Big Woods and Alvarado, heading towards Warren in Minnesota, and just on the north side of Grand Forks. Not warned for anything, but definitely some heavy rain, frequent lightning, and as well, does look like there are possibly some hail pockets in there around the Big Woods area in towards Stephen and south of Drayton. So no warnings on those storms, but it does look like they are starting to pulse up a bit and
bow out
becoming a little
bit
stronger.
too.
So probably some strong wind gusts in there as well, up to 50 to 60 miles per hour. So we'll keep a close eye on that portion of that storm for our listeners in the Northern Valley. Right now, not warned, but definitely a stronger storm. And let's touch back over on the western portion of our listening area over by Medina and Jamestown. Really, the only storm that's warned around the Jamestown area is going to be that storm over by Medina working its way north towards Bowdoin. That storm does look like it is starting to weaken a bit, but still severe thunderstorm warning for some gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour and large hail up to about an inch in diameter. Jamestown still getting in on some heavy thunderstorms. No warning on those storms as of now. Still likely some stronger storms. And then down by the Lemoore area in Litchville, starting to see a new hail shaft starting to form on that severe thunderstorm warning. That is going to be located from Litchville about 8 miles to the southeast, and from Fort Ransom, that's going to be located about 9 miles to the northwest. That's working its way towards Catherine. Very likely some large hail associated with that portion of the storm. So if you're in the Catherine area, it is raining pretty hard. You got some gusty winds, but you might be looking at some larger hail falling within the next handful of minutes as well. And then let's touch back down to our southern listening area where the active tornado warnings are in effect. Again, that is going to be the leading edge of these storms pushing through Morton and Wahpeton, Foxholm, Fergus Falls, Ashby, Leaf Lake, and then over towards the Bell River area south of Parker Prairie. That leading edge of the storm will be capable of producing some quick spin-up tornadoes, but again, the damaging wind is just as likely as a damaging situation to cause a lot of damage throughout the area. And the ground is really wet with all the rain and the water that we've had. That really loosens the grip that the trees have to the ground. So thankfully, we're not fully leafed out. And there's a little less resistance for that wind to catch with the trees, but some tree damage very likely, and some likely power outages as well from these damaging straight line winds gusting to 70 and a few reports just over 80 miles per hour.
Yeah, and if you have any reports from Matador, looks like they are right in the middle of this nasty line. Windermere, Morton, and Wahpeton, you're just about ready to take it on the chin as well. Officially, you're under a tornado warning. Again, you could see these spin-up tornadoes. So if you're in that area on a line from Wahpeton, Morton, over towards Windermere, you'll want to take cover immediately in a basement. If you don't have a basement available, lowest level possible. Put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. Stay away from windows, obviously. These storms seem to be pulsing up a little bit, especially the one just south of Wahpeton and the one just south of Morton as well. And then the one approaching just outside of Matador, heading up towards Windermere. So if you're in those areas, please take cover immediately. These storms are racing to the north at about anywhere between 50 and 70 miles an hour. They were slowing down there for a bit, but they seem to be gaining momentum as well. Another tornado warning just issued now for areas just outside of Fergus. So again, that line of storms pressing to the north very quickly. These would be very quick spin-up tornadoes, and typically they're right on the front edge of this line of storms. Although I haven't seen, have you seen anything confirmed yet there, Justin? Or
I have not seen any confirmed. I'm still trying to look through a little bit of information. But the only confirmed tornado that I've seen so far was just south of Sisseton. And that was about a half hour ago or so, maybe a little longer than that. Again, that portion of the storm, which does look like it's weakened a little bit, is over Morton and Wahpeton right now, still capable of producing those quick spin-up tornadoes. And, they're usually not the long-lived destructive tornadoes. But, even a EF0, EF1 tornado can still cause some pretty significant damage to siding, roofs, trees.
And really, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're good. That's all I got.
You get these straight line winds with, you get a line of storms racing northward at 70, and you're not only going to get wind damage from the momentum of the forward motion of the storm, you're going to get within the storm itself. So you don't need a tornado to do, like you said, close to the same damage. You can get these straight line winds that can produce the same damage as a EF1 tornado would do. So you could get these straight line winds with this line of severe storms that could rip off roofs, uproot trees, without having an actual tornado. So that's the one bad thing about how fast these things are racing northward. They're really packing a punch with the winds, and that looks to be the main threat. An isolated spin-up tornado, absolutely possible. That's why the tornado warning has been issued for areas to our south. But again, some damaging winds along with that as they race northward at about 70 miles an hour. We're looking at the see what happens if they extend that tornado warning, the one that was issued until 7:30, if that gets extended now, because we're right at that 7:30
Yeah, it looks
mark.
like it's just expired, so we'll be waiting for them to reissue that. But I am seeing a little bit of rotation within those storms over by Morton and Dwight, Barney, Morton, Dwight, Winmer. A little bit of weak rotation associated with those storms in one of our later radar scans that we're just getting. So there could potentially be a quick spin-up tornado trying to develop within that area. So again, if you're over by Winmer, Morton, Dwight, probably a good idea to probably seek shelter within those areas, as that's where there is some weak rotation being picked up on radar. And it's just one of the difficult things to do with these storms, because they're moving so quick and you get these fast spin up tornadoes. You can get a tornado to spin up and then dissipate in between radar scans. So it can be difficult to pinpoint exactly where those would be located at. I think the best likelihood of there being a quick spin up would be over by Morton, Barney, and Winmer. Again, those storms are working northward. They'll be heading towards Colfax and Abercrombie and Walcott, Christine in the next 15 minutes as well. And it does, let's see, did they reissue that warning on that portion of the storm? I haven't seen
not seeing anything yet. No, nothing as of yet.
There is still the other active tornado warning. That's over by Dalton, Underwood, up by Battle Lake and Fergus Falls. That portion of the storm also could produce a quick spin up tornado. That is set to expire in another 28 minutes. So that will expire at 8 o'clock, although I think that it's going to exit that watch box before 8 o'clock. That will be heading up towards Erhard and Maine, up towards Otter Tail. Again, active tornado warning for Dalton, Elbow Lake, Ashby. Expires at 8 o'clock in the next 28 minutes.
Right. And they let the tornado warning expire for Grant, Otter Tail, Wilkin, and Richland counties, with the main threat now looks like being damaging winds as this races to the northeast. What concerns me now is behind this original line, we're getting some heavy rain extending about 30 miles south of the original line. So not only are we going to have to deal with the possibility of damaging winds as this line approaches the FM area, but unfortunately, some very heavy rainfall and possible flooding with this as well. And you were talking about that earlier. You were worried about, as this line moves north, is it going to slow down a bit? And it is a little bit, but what I'm worried about, again, there's more redeveloping non-severe in back of the main line, just heavy rainfall, not what we need.
Definitely not. And this is all likely associated to the early morning thunderstorms that we had earlier today. If you remember those, they left an outflow boundary kind of similar to the one in the Northern Valley, but it parked up just to our south over by South Dakota. And when this warm front has been trying to battle with that outflow boundary, it has slowed it down just a little bit. So that was a little unexpected for that outflow boundary to appear, but it has slowed these storms down a little bit, and that's allowing more of this wider spread moderate to heavy rain on the backside to form. So again, when these storms get to the FM metro, it's very likely that we could be looking at some flash flooding around the area. Obviously your likely places would be your underpasses over by the university. Wherever it is that usually it picks up water first are going to be the most likely to refill up with water. I don't think it's going to be too extensive, widespread. We'll wait and see how these storms continue to evolve, if they keep slowing down or if they at least keep moving at least 45 miles per hour. That will definitely lower the chances for flash flooding across our area.
Right. And these storms pressing through the Wahpeton area and Wyndmere area, if you have any storm reports you would like to pass on, we'll pass those on to the National Weather Service. That helps them out a lot. 701-271-1100 is our hotline, 701-271-1100. Or if you just want to shoot us an email, maybe with some pictures on there, you can send that to weather@flagfamily.com. Again, so the tornado warning was set to expire for south of us, but the National Weather Service is still keeping an eye. Just reading this, there's little notches in that line of severe weather where a tornado could occur. So more than likely, we're going to see at least a severe thunderstorm warning issued here for the FM area coming up, as we're starting to see more storms develop. Some storms just west of town, newly storms starting to develop here. As you're heading west, just west of West Fargo there, heading out on 94, just to the east of Castleton. Those are moving due north, non-severe, but just showing you we're already getting some thunderstorms to develop north of the actual line. But areas around Wahpeton, looks like you just took it on the chin. Dwight areas stretching over towards Wyndmere. Again, if you have any damage reports, shoot us a call. 701-271-1100 is our hotline. Let us know what you're seeing out there, because again, these line of storms moving northward at close to 70 miles an hour, and just that in itself will produce some wind damage. Are you okay?
Yeah, I tried to move the microphone a little bit, and it made a weird pinging noise there.
But again, if you're listening, if you're just tuning in, severe weather has been ongoing here in the far southern valley for the last hour or so. Abercrombie about to take it here as this line of storms moves quickly into your area, and then these will be moving up very quickly into the Fargo area. Already some storms developing just out to the west of West Fargo. These will continue to increase in coverage. Also, some stronger storms out around Valley City. So if you're going west on 94, we're going to run into some pretty heavy rainfall and strong wind gusts out there. Just getting reports in from Morton of 69-mile-an-hour wind gusts. That was courtesy of Endon. And again, these storms racing northward very quickly. No warnings issued yet for the FM area, but it looks like that may change here within the next half hour as we're getting these storms racing to the north. Abercrombie about ready to get hit with some very strong winds. These storms pass through Windmere. Passing through Wahpeton right now, moving very quickly to your north. So traveling south on 29, you're going to run into these storms very quickly. We're getting reports of quarter-size hail now just outside of Valley City. Again, nothing yet issued for the FM area, but don't be surprised here very quickly if the National Weather Service issues a warning for the FM area in general here within the next few minutes.
Yep, definitely. And a little outside of our listening area, but if you have friends or family over in the central Minnesota area, say over between Wadena and Staples and Motley along highway, I believe that's highway 210, that there is an area over there that does look like it could likely hold a tornado, or at least the rotation that could support the development of a tornado. Active tornado warning over there as well for Clarissa. That will be heading towards Staples, Motley, Burndale over in Minnesota. That's Central Lakes area, just to the west of the Brainerd side. So let them know to possibly seek shelter around the Staples area. Very strong rotation popping up on some of our radar returns over there. Focusing back in our area again, just that strong line of thunderstorms that's 2 hours south affecting Abercrombie. Wahpeton has just gotten through the leading edge of that storm, as well as Lisbon. Off to the west of our area, a couple of smaller storms developing just west of the FM Metro, non-severe. Once you get out by Tower City, Valley City, you start running into some stronger storms. Again, those are not warned at this moment. Still likely some heavy rain, frequent lightning, and some gusty winds up to 50 miles per hour. But the worst wind will be found on the south side of this leading line of storms in the Southern Valley, within Lisbon, Waymer, Wahpeton, Fergus Falls. Again, these storms are working their way towards Pelican Rapids, Barnesville, Horace, and Enderlin as well within the next 10 minutes. And then they should be approaching into the FM Metro area in about, let's see if we can time this out here. The storms are located exactly 31 miles south of Fargo. It does seem like these storms have been slowing down just a bit as they continue to push north. They were originally coming in at about 60. They've slowed down to about 45 to 55 miles per hour. So that would give it about a half hour to 40 minutes until that leading line is over the FM Metro. Again, still looking for the possibility for some pulse ups on that leading line of the storm. Not looking too overly impressed for quick spin ups at this moment, but we'll continue to monitor that in case these storms decide to pulse up a little stronger. But again, those active tornado warnings, which are outside of our listening area, affecting the Central Lakes area just north of St. Cloud and between Wadena and Staples.
Just had a new tornado warning issued for Otter Tail County until 8:15. Line of severe thunderstorms, possible tornado radar indicated near Otter Tail Lake, 18 miles east of Fergus, moving north at 40 miles an hour. So again, that's a tornado warning for Otter Tail County until 8:15. Again, it's radar indicated with the possibility of some rotation there entering areas around Otter Tail Lake. So keep that in mind. If you are in the Otter Tail Lake area, you might want to take cover immediately. Again, nothing confirmed on the ground, but this is kind of part of the line of storms where you're more likely, I think, more likely to get spin up tornadoes on the Minnesota side than we are in and around the FM area. But again, that can't be rolled out. Again, we've got a very dynamic system that's a lot of turning winds with height, and that's what we look for, and a lot of wind with this as well. Getting reports of near 60-mile-an-hour winds as this line passed through Wahpeton. And again, it continues to move north at about 70 miles an hour. If you're just joining us, you're wondering what's going on with the weather. There is a line of severe storms just to the south of the FM area. No warnings in place yet for the FM area, but there are warnings, tornado warnings for Otter Tail County. And we've had reports of some hail out around Valley City as well. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts around Wahpeton, outside of Morton, near 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So again, this is definitely, let's see, this is definitely has at least the potential for some damaging winds as this approaches the Southern Valley and especially the FM area. We're getting some pulse-up storms now just west of West Fargo, moving very quickly to the north. All these storms continue to increase in coverage area. Luckily, intensity-wise, we're not seeing a whole lot, although it looks like there's a little pulse-up outside of Abercrombie area, as that would be the cell that races almost directly north into the FM area over the next half hour, it looks like.
And let's touch again on those tornado warnings off into the Minnesota side affecting Lakes Country. This is going to be located just to the southeast of Detroit Lakes. And again, we'll pull the ruler out here. That's be about exactly 31 miles southeast of Detroit Lakes. That is going to be working its way towards Richville and Perham along Highway 210. Over by Ottertail, Maine, again, Richville, Dent, Perham, and direct line of that portion of the tornado warning. That's going to be active for another 32 minutes. That will expire at 8:15 this afternoon. Just a little further east, again, outside of our listening area, but very likely, at least potential for a tornado to be on the ground, would be over by the Staple area, or Staples in Minnesota, a little further east towards the Brainerd Lakes area. But back in our area, again, up in the Northern Valley, those storms continuing to be a bit on the stronger side, still not warned for anything. Definitely going to have some gusty winds contained in there just north of the Grand Forks area towards Alvarado and Argyle, up towards Donaldson, working their way towards Strandquist, Carlston into northwestern Minnesota. Those are some strong storms, likely some penny to nickel-sized hail, wind gusts up to 45 to 55 miles per hour. And then again, west of the FM metro, seeing more of these pop-up storms starting to develop and become more in coverage of our area. None of those storms are warned, but there are some reports of some 1-inch hail being reported near the Valley City area. And actually, that does look like that was from a half hour ago. So the hail threat has really gone down with those storms, but just the damaging wind is really the main concern with wind gusts in excess of 70 miles per hour. And again, those active tornado warnings just 30 miles southeast, of Detroit Lakes. And then again, over by Staples, Minnesota, and central Minnesota.
Yeah, and that line approaching the Perham area, Detroit Lakes, some rotation with that, but again, it's kind of right on that leading edge where you're getting a little more rotation on the Minnesota side of these storms than you are here in the FM area and points westward. Some pretty strong storms, again, non-severe just outside of Tower City. If you're going west on 94, a cluster of storms there. Going up to the Northern Valley, extreme northwestern Minnesota. It looks like we're getting a little bow echo there. Nothing severe, but wouldn't be surprised to see some strong wind gusts with that. But a little closer to home here. Again, kind of watching these storms. I'm going to zoom out on radar here. And these storms racing to the north here, and will shortly be in the FM area here within the next 15 to 20 minutes. So you might want to put that car in the garage. No big reports of any hail, but and still no warnings yet issued for the FM area. But there are, again, tornado warnings out. Ottertail County, Perham, Detroit Lakes, Ottertail. You're right in the path of that storm as it races to the north. So take cover out there. Basement, obviously, if no basement's available, lowest floor possible. Put as many walls between you and the outside as you possibly can.
Yeah, you're definitely going to start to hear some of that thunder around the Fargo metro area. These storms getting a little closer now. Leading edge down by Barnesville and Horace and Leonard as well. A couple isolated pop-up storms just west of the FM metro starting to produce some lightning now as well. That's located over Mapleton, just to the west of Argosville along I-29. And then those stronger storms, but non-severe, over by Valley City, Tower City, over to Jamestown, now extending into Hannaford, Hope, Cooperstown almost. And then over towards Galesburg and Hunter. That's going to be north of Castleton. Some gusty winds, heavy rain, and frequent lightning with those storms as well.
And just getting reports of in Ottertail County, Wrightstown, quarter-size hail 12 miles south of Wadena. Small branches down as well with the strong winds. So we're getting some reports around Morton as that line passed through. We're getting reports of 76 mile an hour winds there. And again, this whole line of storms racing to the north here very quickly. Some very heavy rainfall out around Valley City with some small hail. That's stretching north of Valley City as well. That'll affect areas around Cooperstown here within the next about 15 minutes. But again, the line of strong storms, which was severe down in the far southern valley, appears to be weakening a touch as it approaches the FM area. But again, no warnings issued yet for the FM area. Some wind reports 2 miles south of Wahpeton, near 60 mile an hour wind gusts. And if you have any reports of any wind damage, any hail, anything of the sort, any storm reports you want to pass along, 701-271-1100 is our hotline, 701-271-1100. Again, if you're on the interstate system on 29, going south all the way to south of Wahpeton, a line of some heavy storms and possibility of some damaging winds as well. A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued now, and this does include the FM area. Severe thunderstorm warning with 70 mile an hour wind gusts possible for Becker, Clay, Clearwater, Hubbard, Norman, Ottertail, Wadena, Wilkin counties in Minnesota, Cass, Richland, and Trail counties here in North Dakota till 8:45 on that one. Let me dive into this and let us know what you see on radar there, if you will, real quick, Justin.
Yeah, definitely. So that warning has just been issued for the FM metro. Again, that portion of the storm will be capable of producing a tornado. Doesn't look overly likely right now with the way that it looks. A quick spin up will be possible, but with wind gusting up to 70 miles per hour, well, that will do almost as much damage as a weak isolated tornado. And we're starting to see a little bit of lightning outside of our studio windows now as well. And we'll see those storms continuing to push north at almost 50 miles an hour. Let's touch back on that tornado warning that is to the east of us. That's heading towards Perham, just to the west of New York Mills, about 25 miles to the southeast of Detroit Lake. Still possibility for a spin-up tornado to form along that portion of the storm. That's going to be affecting Ottertail, Richville, and then Perham, as well as Dent. That will be crossing Highway 210 between New York Mills and Frazee in about 15 minutes. Possibility for an isolated tornado to be found is in there, as well as you start to get down towards the Staples area. And then a little further outside of our listening area, down by Little Falls, another active tornado warning throughout the Central Lakes area. Now back into our area. Dean, were you able to get some of that information on that warning that was just issued for
the FM area?
Yeah, so, for the eastern portion of Cass County.
Right. So that is in effect. These storms moving north at 55 miles an hour. We're looking at this around the Wadena area by 750, Kindred area by 755, Horace and Wild Rice by around 805, and then Fargo shortly after that. Let's see. We're looking at, if you're on the interstate, if you're on 29, but between mile markers 31 and 100, on 94 in North Dakota side between mile markers 333 and 352, and on the 94 on the Minnesota side, mile markers 1 to 55. You'll probably want to pull over. There's a good chance of some damaging winds with this as these storms race to the north at, where were we? 70? No, 50 miles an hour as these storms race to the north. So again, 55 miles an hour, they're racing to the north. So again, this will be entering the FM area here within the next 30 minutes.
Let's see what we got going on. My radar is being a little slow to pull up the reflectivity, but there was that storm down by Lemoore that's set to expire here in another 9 minutes. That storm has since been weakening a tad bit. That's going to be just to the south of Valley City and further out west, heading towards just west of Carrington towards Bowdoin. That severe thunderstorm warning also in effect for another 24 minutes. And that will be for 60 mile per hour wind gusts and quarter-sized hail. So this would be far southeastern Wells and northwestern Kidder and northwestern Stutzman County.
Right. And although the immediate FM area is not under that severe thunderstorm warnings for eastern Cass, there's still a very strong cell just north of Abercrombie, moving almost due northward, and that would put itself almost directly into the FM area here within the next 20-25 minutes. So even though we're not under a warning here in the FM area, we are going to see a very sharp uptick in these winds. I wouldn't be surprised to see 50, 60 mile an hour winds here, even in the FM area, even though we're not officially under the warning that's out in the eastern part of the county. Or west, is it western part of the county? Where are we at? We're at eastern.
We're in the eastern portion.
No,
Dean.
it is eastern Cass County. Well, I'm looking at radar, and it didn't look like radar had it over area, but it does.
Yep.
I'm sorry, my bad. Yep.
So yeah, that's going to be for the far eastern portion of Cass County. That's Argusville, Highland Park, Fargo, Frontier, Horace. Christine still in that severe thunderstorm warning, and then that goes to continue further to the east. So that would be following I-94 down by Barnesville and Rothsay. You're in the middle of it right now. If you continue over on highway, I believe that's highway 2. I think it's US 2. That would be Glendon, Hawley, Lake Park, Detroit Lakes, Frazee, Perham, New York Mills. That's going to be where these storms are tracking next. They're currently hitting Barnesville, Burgess, Perham, Dent, New York Mills right now. And again, that active tornado warning for the Perham area as well as Dent and Otter Tail. That tornado warning is still set to expire in another 22 minutes. West of the FM Metro in western Cass County, you start getting over by Valley City and Jamestown, still dealing with some stronger thunderstorms, but really for the most part, they're not severe anymore. They're still capable of producing some strong winds, maybe some small to medium-sized hail up to about an inch, I would imagine would be the most that they'd be able to produce, but I'm not really seeing any pockets of hail in those storms anymore. If there was a small pocket of some smaller hail, it'd be located just to the northwest of Rogers, North Dakota, and over by Daisy. Up in our northern valley for our northern listeners, if you're north of Stephen or if you're in the Halma area, Donaldson, Strandquist, you will be looking at some larger hail capable of being produced with a storm up there. That's located north of Grand Forks by about 45 miles, really about 15 on the far southern portion, but the main part of that storm up by Stephen, 42 miles to the northeast of Grand Forks. That's traveling through northwestern Minnesota. That will be able to produce some damaging hail. It does look like there is a little bit of rotation in that storm as well, but no severe warning for it at this moment.
Right. And if you're watching us live stream, and you can watch live radar as we track these storms, you can log on to our social media, also on our webpage, am1100theflag.com or wdayradionow.com, and watch us live stream as well. If you have any storm reports, we'd love to hear from you. 701-271-1100. That's 701-271-1100 as these storms continue to race to the north. If you're just joining us, a severe thunderstorm warning. This does include the FM area until 8:45 as these storms race to the north at about 55 miles an hour. Expected in about the Kindred area as we speak. Horace and Wild Rice here about 8:05, and that would put it in the FM area shortly after about 8:10 or so. If you're on the interstate and you're traveling and you're running into these areas on Interstate 29 between mile markers 31 and 100, Interstate 94 on the North Dakota side between mile markers 333 and 352. On Interstate 94 in the Minnesota side between mile markers 1 and 55. Probably want to pull over. We're going to get some damaging winds, possible small hail, and some extremely heavy rainfall as these storms race to the north at about 50 miles an hour. Really starting to see, it looks like just to the south of where are we at here as we zoom in here. We're looking at very strong cells just to the north of Abercrombie, moving to the north here, and again at about 50 miles an hour. These are fastly approaching the FM area. And again, the main threat with this right now is going to be wind damage. If you're listening to us out in the lakes area, tornado warning out around for Perham, although those storms look to be weakening just a bit. So that's good news there. Although there's a cell approaching the New York Mills area, that looks a little bit concerning. And then the rest of these storms look to be more of a wind a possible damaging wind and also extremely heavy rainfall as he's continued to track to the north. And like you said earlier, Justin, with all the rain we've had, the root system on some of these trees, probably a little weaker than they should be. So you get 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts or higher, and you could see some wind damage with this.
Yeah, just
easily.
thankfully we don't have the trees aren't leafed out. You put that leaf on, it's really going to act like a sail, absorb more of that wind. So thankfully these trees will be able to take a little bit more of the wind. But with the ground being as wet as it is, it's still definite possibility to see power lines and trees getting blown down. I want to focus back over on the Detroit Lakes area and the Lakes area of Minnesota. We still have that active tornado warning for Dent and Perham over by New York Mills, crossing Highway 210 now between Burgess, Perham, and New York Mills. That's set to expire at 17 minutes. That will expire at about 8:15. A second tornado warning now issued for Wadena County. Of course, that will be including Wadena and Sabika, Nimrod, Verndale, Minnesota. That's set to expire in another 32 minutes, seeing some evident rotation with that storm within the more embedded in the storm. So if that is a tornado on the ground with that storm, which is not confirmed, it would likely be rain wrapped and very hard to detect with the eye. So if you're in Wadena, Bluffton, Verndale, would seek shelter right now in case that is a tornado on the ground. Again, nothing confirmed in the Wadena area, but something that should be concerned if you are listening from the Wadena area in the Lakes country of Minnesota.
And we're getting numerous reports out of Fergus, Nashua, 60, 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts there. Ashby, reports of 58-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and they seem to be right around the 50 to 70-mile-an-hour speed. But luckily, no official reported tornadoes, even into the Lakes area where they have the tornado warnings. Nothing officially being reported on the ground as of now, and we'll wait and see. But these storms quickly approaching the FM area. So again, if you're looking outside and you're seeing these very dark skies, we're going to see these storms quickly move in from the south. They're moving north at about 50 miles an hour. And again, they seem to be losing a little of their punch in terms of tornadic activity here in the valley. I think we're dealing with more of a wind threat, and not even much hail being reported with these. So that's a good thing as well.
And we did have a couple of listeners call in over in the Lakes country area right now. One, let's see, what was it? Battle Lake was talking about some very strong winds with a quick moving storm that just came through. Again, that was the leading edge of one of those storms that just came through earlier. And also a caller from Frazee, Minnesota, that it looked very dark to the south. And indeed, you do have another portion of this storm coming directly at Frazee, just outside of the warning box for that tornado warning, but maybe something to be concerned about. Maybe start getting ready to seek shelter as that storm gets a little closer. There is some weak rotation within the storm, but when it starts to get this far away from our radars, it's a little harder to detect the lower level motions of the storm. So we're really picking up a little bit more in the mid layer. But that usually can be translated to lower rotation within the storm. So again, that's an active tornado warning for the next 15 minutes. That's Richville, Perham, Dent, just to the east of Burgess and just to the immediate south of Frazee, Minnesota. Again, those towns are located about 15 to 25 miles to the southeast of Detroit Lakes. I would take concern with that portion of the storm. There is some rotation with it as well. And again, in the little further to the east in Wadena, heading towards Sabika and Nimrod, also a tornado warning for another half of an hour. In our area, we're still seeing our line of storms within the FM metro starting to push in. We are starting to see some rain now, a few flashes of lightning here at our studios.
Right.
The sky is definitely turning dark.
I'm seeing a real strong uptick in reflectivity on our radar, which means a quick pulse up of this thunderstorm just south of Frontier and Prairie Rose, moving kind of north, almost northwest. This would put it into West Fargo here within the next about 15 minutes. There's also just southeast of the FM area, just to the east of Comstock, a pretty strong cell there starting to uptick. That would affect areas of Moorhead. So these storms just south of town here, just south of Frontier and Prairie Rose, right on 29 there, these really starting to uptick in intensity. No reports of any hail with that, but it wouldn't surprise me to see at least some quarter-size hail with that.
Yeah, definitely a real possibility with that. And again, the damaging winds can do just as much damage as a weak tornado with ripping shingles and portions of roofs off houses. When you start seeing gusts over 75 miles per hour, trees, power lines likely to go down with strong winds like that as well. And I'm trying to get in touch with my buddy, Skywarn trainer and meteorologist I went to school with. He's down chasing a few of these storms. He's starting to get a little closer to home. So I'm trying to get a hold of him to see what he has seen and where exactly he's at in relationship to these storms. He was able to confirm a tornado down in Sisseton about an hour ago. And since then, the storms have really kind of weakened. But as Dean had mentioned, we are starting to see a little pulse up on a storm just south of the FM metro. That'll likely pose a risk for some hail, strong wind. Again, tornado warning in effect for the southern eastern Cass County. That is going to extend all the way over into the New York Mills area and then over towards Staples and the Brainerd Lakes area. So that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for another 42 minutes. This is going to be a warning for Clay County, southern Hubbard County, Wadena County, southern Norman, Otter Tail, northern Wilkin, southern Monoman County, Becker County, Clearwater County, eastern Cass, southeastern Trail County, and northern Richland County. And this is all in effect for the next, I believe it was 42 minutes. The main concern with these storms, 70 mile per hour wind gusts. Still, yeah, an isolated tornado could possibly form, but not looking very likely from what I'm seeing on my end with these storms. And they're really kind of starting to really lose an organization to the way they were looking a little earlier again. Still some stronger storms to the west of the FM metro. That's over by Tower City, Valley City. Those storms still pushing to the north. Those are affecting Blanchard, Clifford, Galesburg, Hope, as well as Page by Sibley, Daisy, Hannaford. Those are working their way into the Cooperstown, Sharon, Hatton, Reynolds area, and then eventually up and towards Logan Center and McVille. No warning on those storms, but still some heavy rain, frequent lightning, and some gusty winds being seen with those storms. And as well, Northern Valley still looking at that Boeing storm, not warned for anything, very likely producing some very gusty winds to 50 miles per hour, frequent lightning, heavy rain. That's located northwest of Grand Forks. That's northwestern Minnesota, just to the west of Thief River Falls, near the Middle River area, as well as Sharquist, and that would be Carlstead as well, and towards Halmer and Lake Branson as well.
And if you're in West Fargo right now, I would I put that vehicle in the garage if you can. We are getting an uptick here in this one individual cell just to the west of Frontier and Prairie Rose. It's heading due north, slightly northwestward, right towards West Fargo. And again, this looks like there's been a little uptick in the intensity of this storm. So I would not be surprised to see some hail reported within this as this approaches the West Fargo area here within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So West Fargo, I'd put your car in the garage right now. There's a line of stronger storms, not as strong, but just down to the south of immediate FM area. And that's moving north. That looks like mainly a wind event and very heavy rain. But West Fargo here, we're seeing a strong uptick with this line moving towards West Fargo, and that is the one that could produce some hail.
Yep, and if you're listening down in the Southern Valley, you're getting stuck in some wider spread moderate to heavy rain right now. The severe aspect for you in the Southern Valley, as well as southern North Dakota, is basically over at this point right now. If you have any damage reports, hail reports, really anything, give us a call, 701-271-1100. Again, that's 701-271-1100. 1100. We'd love to hear from you so that way we can relay that information off to the National Weather Service. And because we're quite curious to see how that was for you and what other people could maybe be expecting as these storms continue to track further to the north and affect more communities. It'd be a great heads up for someone who's already been affected by this storm for what someone else could be expecting with it as well. Off to our east, still active tornado warnings for the Perham area along the Highway 210 towards Wadena and Staples. 2 active tornado warnings, one set to expire for 9 minutes. That's going to be for the Perham area, just to the east of Burgess and the immediate south of Frazee, Minnesota. The second for Wadena County, just to the east. That's Wadena, Burndale, Nimrod, and Sabika. That tornado warning in effect for another 23 minutes. Still seeing some rotation with that storm. And as you get further into the Central Lakes area, now 3 active tornado warnings around the St. Cloud to Brainerd Lakes area on the south side, right around Little Falls. That portion of the storm could also produce some tornadoes with that. So if you have friends or family in the Brainerd Lakes area, Central Lakes area, give them a phone call, let them know that they got some bumpy weather approaching their area right now.
Right. And we're getting some reports out of Wrightstown in Otter Tail County. Law enforcement reported a funnel cloud about 15 minutes ago. And again, that is in Otter Tail County. So that's with that system out in the lakes area, obviously, where that seems to be the focus for, like you said, Perham down towards Wadena and St. Cloud. That's kind of on that arcing line of those storms out in the lakes area. That is the highest threat of tornadic activity. Other than that, we're looking at mainly a wind event. This line of storms that's approaching the FM area now really starting to fall apart. That's good news, with the exception, and again, there's one exception. There's one individual cell, and if you're watching us on live stream, I'll zoom into this cell here, just to the west of Prairie Rose. This is heading due north into West Fargo, northwest, and I'll tell you what, likely there's going to be a little hail core with this as this moves into West Fargo. So if you're listening from West Fargo, you probably want to move that car into the garage. Other than that, we're looking at just a heavy rain event and wind coming in directly to the FM area.
Yeah, and thankfully, we had mentioned earlier that we were looking at that capping situation setting up over our area this afternoon, and with a few other variables that played out, we didn't quite get as hot as some of our models were suggesting with these severe storms. So a lot of the ingredients were there. We just weren't quite able to build up as much instability. And because of that, thankfully, a lot of these storms have lost a little bit of the power that they normally would have had in that other environment that was expected to set up. So thankfully, it's not quite as bad as what we were expecting with the severe hail threat, but still the damaging wind threat is the main concern right now for the eastern portion of Cass County and then stretching into the lakes country of Minnesota. And that line does extend all the way down towards the Minneapolis area as well, with damaging wind and heavy rain, frequent lightning. Hail threat will also be found down towards the Minneapolis area.
Right. So the back edge of this rain quickly moving northward. So we were originally thinking, okay, threat of heavy rain, and we will see a brief period of heavy rain here. But nothing that's going to last too long. The back edge of this rain, exiting South Dakota, North Dakota border. And after that, for the most part, it should be pretty quiet. So after this line of storms goes through the FM area, probably within the next hour, this should be shifting north. The focus then moves into the Northern Valley, and we'll see how these hold together. I think this is going to be mainly a heavy rain and wind event as this heads into the Northern Valley, where there's a little more of a stable environment and not as much instability where we really have to worry about, but a pocket of very heavy rain, extremely heavy rain into West Fargo right now. If you have any reports of hail in West Fargo, because it looks like that's a good possibility coming up here within the next 10 minutes, shoot us a call, 701-271-1100. Let us know what you're seeing out there. And we're looking at, okay, so tornado warning continues for the Detroit Lakes area.
Just to the east of the Detroit Lakes area. That'd be Perham, New York Mills, and Wadena.
And any other new warnings here? We're just scrolling through the National Weather Service feed here.
Outside of the warnings around the Brainerd Lakes area and more into central Minnesota, not too much on the severe aspect of these storms within our listening area. Still a couple stronger storms in the Northern Valley pushing through northwestern Minnesota. And then, of course, we have another little broken line of storms extending from Mayville towards Hannaford and even down between Jamestown and Valley City. So we'll keep an eye on those storms, but those are just mostly looking like a light show, some heavy rain, some gusty winds, but not enough to reach severe criteria. Again, the hail threat on these storms really decreasing throughout that area. Still a slight possibility for a few pockets of light hail here or there across the area. One of those small storms that did pulse up just to the south side of Fargo, heading towards West Fargo, still could maybe contain a little small hail in there. Again, like Dean had said, you got a little bit of time to put those vehicles in the car, but not much. Probably got about 5 or 10 minutes before that storm gets into the immediate FM area as well. So we're keeping a very close eye on that. Otherwise, these storms really becoming more unorganized and turning, again, mostly wind and then moderate to a little heavy rain here or there. So we'll be kind of looking for the possibility for some flooding to occur in some areas. Again, your most likely cases are going to be those lower lying underpasses over by the university, your general areas across town that usually hold water before anywhere else does. Those will be the first places that we are worried about.
Right, and you're listening to live broadcast here of severe weather on AM 1100, theflag.com, and WDAY radio as well. So just if you're in the FM area, West Fargo right now getting hit by some very heavy rainfall, and we're seeing the possibility of some hail there out in West Fargo as well. Downtown Fargo, not as bad, out off into areas of Moorhead, Dilworth, just some heavy rain approaching from the south. But other than that, this whole line really is starting to kind of outside Detroit Lakes down towards St. Cloud, still packing a punch there. But other than that, we're looking at this, the whole line starting to weaken as it moves into a slightly more stable air. So I think our threat for severe weather,
it's greatly decreasing,
starting to diminish here quite a bit. But
still over in the Lakes country, though, still those 2 active tornado warnings. As these storms continue to work their way further to the north, they will become less tornadic in nature. And they will also become a little bit more elevated, meaning that they're not as close to the ground. That will also decrease your chance for tornado development within those storms. But the main threat with it is just those quick spin ups. And now we're starting to see a little bit of radar attenuation. This is basically just the radar getting in the way of itself on those storms over the Perham and Wadena. Just switching radars to the Duluth radar now to kind of keep a closer eye on those storms over in the western portion, or central portion of Minnesota. And it still looks like there is some minor forms of rotation within those tornado warned storms along near Highway 371 through central Minnesota, extending up into the Brainerd Lakes area. But again, the 2 active tornado warnings closest to home will be over Sabika, Nimrod, and Monaga, as well as just to the immediate south side of Frazee, south of Evergreen, and just to the immediate west of Butler. That's going to be almost directly overhead Perham right now. Some of that rotation does look like it is extending outside of that watch box as we had initially expected over by the Wolf Lake area, Evergreen. That's heading towards Pine Point. If you are in those areas, might be worth at least getting things ready inside, seeking some shelter. Again, that likeliest area for where that rotation could be located would be right around the Butler, Evergreen, and Wolf Lake area.
Right.
That's just to the east of Lake Eunice and Detroit Lakes as well.
And as this line passed through Wadena, just got reports from the National Weather Service, 2 miles northwest of Ferndale, 94-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So obviously that's hurricane force winds. That's going to do some damage. They just expired the tornado warning for Otter Tail County. That's good news, but still packing quite a punch. But I think the good news is here in the FM area is as these storms are moving northward, they're really starting to lose a lot of their punch as we not only head into dark, and so daytime heating, even though it was cloudy out, losing that daytime heating, we're heading into a more stable atmosphere. So these storms really starting to lose a lot of their punch. Again, with the exception out towards the lakes area, and even those storms are starting to lose a lot of their punch. So I think, guys, this severe thunderstorm warning about to wrap up here in the FM area. It does appear that the severe weather threat is really starting to wind down. So I think we're probably going to wrap it up here. Anything else you're seeing? Any more reports for Justin at all, or?
I haven't seen too many reports coming in from our area. A little bit of wind damage over by Valley City, some pea-sized hail. Again, that's from about a half hour ago. Then just the moderate to heavy rain in place with frequent lightning across the most of eastern North Dakota. Again, a lot of this is losing its severe capability as it, again, works its way further to the north. The environment just not as supportive for severe thunderstorms. And even in our area, I got a feeling just because of the amount of rain across the area, we're really starting to dilute that unstable atmosphere as we mix a lot of the instability out of the atmosphere. So as these storms keep on going, they'll likely hold together, at least for the most part, turning into rain and some windy conditions with frequent lightning. But I think for the bulk of it,
the severe weather threat
is basically over.
Some strong storms just to the west of Castleton, between Castleton and Tower City, moving northward. Some strong storms now around the Mayville area. But that's basically what we're going to see for the rest of the evening. And the back edge of this rain now starting to enter areas around Wyndmere. And points westward from there. So we're going to wrap up coverage here now as the severe weather threat really starting to basically become nil as this whole line moves into more stable atmosphere.
Yep. So we want to thank you all for listening to the severe weather coverage. You're listening to our severe weather coverage live here from the SkyWatch Weather Center in Fargo on WZFG AM 1100 The Flag, Dilworth, Fargo, Moorhead, and WDAY AM 970 Fargo, Moorhead. And also a thank you and a hello to you on our live stream. Thank you for joining us on that as well. We're going to be concluding our severe weather coverage for now, but we will continue to monitor these storms in case anything changes. Again, one last tornado warning in effect for just a handful of minutes now by the Sabika and Monaga area. Looks like that is starting to fall apart as well. So it's very likely that we're going to see that tornado warning being expired here in the next few moments. So we'll continue to monitor these storms. Until then, we're going to send you back to regular programming.
Priority?
Bye.